The LMC casts a wide net over the Sound Shore to bring you local event info, profiles, and conversations. Recorded in the heart of the village in Mamaroneck Cinemas at the studio on the Avenue, LMC Media brings you the LMC Cast Community Profiles.
Hi, my name is Mike Reynolds. I'm a longtime Mamaroneck resident and a longtime fan of music and the New York Yankees. On this edition of LMC Cast Community Profile, I'm joined by a man who lives in both of those worlds. Ed Alstrom describes himself as an itinerant musician and musical disaster relief specialist. One of the many stops on his itinerary often brings him to the big ballpark in the Bronx. Ed is the weekend organist for the New York Yankees. How you doing today, Ed?
I'm good, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. The Yankees are on the road until after the All-Star break, but Ed is going to be in the community room at the Mamaroneck Library on July 15th at 6 p.m. He's going to share some of his music and memories about the weekend residency of sorts that dates back to 2004. Ed, can you please tell us a little bit about your upcoming show, Yankee Baseball from the Organ Bench?
Sure. I've been doing this presentation for about 9 months now at various libraries and other facilities, and it's just a retrospective of my experience as the Yankee Stadium organist for the past 21 years. And I tell stories and play some music and share some anecdotes and put up lots of pictures and videos and things. And then it's a breezy, pretty fun hour or so.
Now, we're going to look forward to that. You recently in New Rochelle, or that was one of the stops on the tour?
New Rochelle was a virtual presentation
really?
that encompassed 3 different libraries. So it was New Rochelle, Mount Kisco, and Lewiston, and they all kind of co-hosted what they said had to be a Zoom presentation. So that's what it was.
Well, we'll do better. We'll be in person on Monday night. Anyway, we're going to return to Yankees.
Yeah, it's a better show in person.
Oh, no doubt,
shows
right?
are.
I mean, you got to, it's a touch me, feel me kind of thing, right? Anyway.
It's just better live.
Okay. We're going to return to Yankees baseball from the organ bench in a bit, but I wanted Ed to talk about his varied and interesting musical career. So how young were you when you started playing, and it was the organ from the outset? Do you play any other instruments? I see a guitar in the background.
Yeah,
now.
it was organ from the outset because we didn't have a piano when I was a kid. My dad was a plumber, heating and air conditioning guy by trade, and he played organ and accordion recreationally. So he had both of those instruments. I exhibited an interest in the organ when I was 5 years old, and basically started teaching myself with my dad giving me some pointers. And I still have a program for my first public recital when I was a couple of weeks before my 6th birthday.
Really? Okay.
So I was playing pretty early.
Okay.
And we didn't get a piano till I was about 12.
Okay. So
I started on
organ, piano, guitar, any other instruments?
I play bass. I play a little bit of drums. I sing.
Okay.
And not much other than that.
No, that's good enough to qualify you as a Renaissance man. Anyway, over the course, you played a lot of gigs and a lot of bands, everything from rock and roll to disco. Is that right, Ed?
I've done all kinds of gigs, yeah.
Okay, including I think part of your beat these days. Also, you work in a couple of houses of worship, if I'm not mistaken.
When I grew up playing organ, part of that training was classical music and church music. So I've been playing in churches since I was about 12.
Okay.
And I started working in churches, at least part-time when I was like 16. So I've been playing in churches ever since then.
Okay.
So that's definitely part of my history and my identity, yeah.
So in the church and then to the ballpark in the Bronx, is that part of the field trip?
I frequently go from one to the other, yeah.
Okay. You've also taken a few stops along the way on Broadway and off-Broadway shows. Can you talk a little bit about those experiences?
I've subbed on a lot of Broadway shows, and I've music directed a couple of off-Broadway shows. The most successful show that I was involved with was Hairspray, where I was kind of the lead keyboard sub for the almost the entire run of that show, which was about 8 years. So
Nice. Okay.
at one point I was there average 3 or 4 times a week, which is pretty a lot of work for a sub.
Okay. Okay. Your career is also, and for those at home, this is kind of a scorecard from Ed's bio. He's played with a lot of notables, and I'm just gonna read off a few names: Bette Midler, Leonard Bernstein, Herbie Hancock, Dion, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Donald Fagen, Herbert Sumlin, Al Cooper, Stanley Jordan, Chubby Checker, and many, many others. But I'm going to ask Ed to do me a favor, because I'm going to take a swing and ask a couple anecdotes about a couple of my favorites whom Ed has played with Johnny B. Good and little Stephen Van Zandt of Bruce Springsteen and E Street Band, and Silvio Dante from The Sopranos fame. What's it like playing with Mr. Johnny B. Good?
Meaning Chuck Berry.
Correct.
It was pretty important. It was an oldies show, one of those Richard Nader oldies shows.
Oh, really?
It was Nassau
Okay.
Coliseum.
Nice.
So there was 15,000 people there. Chuck Berry was the headliner. I was there as part of Ronnie Spector's band, and Chuck Berry's MO at that point was to just appropriate the next band on the bill as his backup band. He didn't travel around
Right.
with the band.
Okay.
So we met with him. We were told when we got there that we were going to be backing up Chuck Berry. And then we had a brief meeting with him, and then we played with Ronnie Spector and then stayed there, and Chuck Berry just walked out on the stage, and 15,000 people lost their minds, and we did a set with Chuck Berry. It was great.
All right. Very good. What about little Stephen, Mr. Bruce Springsteen and
Van Zandt
Silvio
was on a
Dante?
gig I did with Darlene Love,
Okay.
the singer, and I was her musical director for about 7 years. And she used to do a lot of Christmas shows. One year, she put the song in the show that she did with Stephen Van Zandt, which was the All Alone on Christmas, the song from the movie Home Alone, which I think Van Zandt wrote and produced. So Darlene got him onto her gig to play guitar on that song when she did it. So I got to work with him then.
Very nice, and thank you for that. I appreciate that. Ed also has 3 albums of his own, going back to 1996 with The Record People Are Coming, Acid Cabaret in 2003, and appropriately enough, I guess, Getting Organized from 2010. He's got a new single out, Don't Cry at My Funeral. Bigger plans for that tune this year, Ed?
Well, I'm trying to surround that song with the rest of an album, which I'm furiously working on and should have done by the end of the summer if I'm lucky. May dribble a few months into the fall, but I'm dead set on getting that done this year. It's been a couple of years in the making, and I want to get it tied up.
Okay. Is that something, how long have you been working to get ready for this particular batch of music?
Couple of years. Some of it is stuff that I wrote lyrics to 30 years ago or so, and
Okay.
I just never
Yep.
finish the music or put the song together, but I pulled that stuff out and I wrote a bunch of new stuff. I've slanted, part of the reason for the delay is I just slanted the focus of the album from kind of a general retrospective of a bunch of different styles into what is more of a straight blues context, because I just participated in a competition run by the International Blues Foundation called the International Blues Challenge. And it was a competition held at the Stanhope House in New Jersey. I entered in the solo duo category, and I won that category locally.
Congrats.
So now I'm going to go to the international competition in Memphis in January. I would like to go down there with a product, so I'm going to get a CD and
Okay. All right.
get this finished. And it's going to be more of a blues thing at this point,
Okay, cool.
I think.
So you play a lot of different styles of music, and you're, again, out and about in the New York metro area playing how many times a week?
Average 2 or 3.
Okay.
Sometimes more, sometimes less. And that's not counting church and temple
Okay.
that I play at,
Okay.
or the Yankees.
Okay. All
So,
right.
yeah, I'm still very busy,
All right.
which is a good thing.
From what I understand, organ music has been a baseball tradition, Ed, that goes back to Wrigley Field in 1941. You live in New Jersey, grew up in the area. Is something, the organ you heard at your visits to Yankee Stadium, Shea Stadium, and, with your family, and that was the turning point? You said, hey, that's something I want to do?
Exactly. It's hitting the nail on the head. My dad started taking me to baseball games when I was 7 or 8. He took me to both teams' games. He was not a partisan fan of any of the New York teams. In fact, when he was growing up, there was 3 teams in New York,
Right.
and he loved them all.
Okay.
So he took me to both teams' games on a regular basis, and I was already playing organ by then. So I walked into Shea Stadium the first time in 1965, and wow, baseball, organ, I want to do that. Because Jane Jarvis, the brilliant Jane Jarvis, was the organist at Shea Stadium, and her presence inspired the Yankees to add organ the following year, in 1965, in which they brought in a gentleman named Toby Wright to play organ. He was there for 2 years before they brought Eddie Layton in 1967. So yeah, I grew up with baseball organ courtesy of these people, and they were 2 giants in the field, and they taught me well.
Okay. Ed, can you tell us how you got the gig? You mentioned Eddie Layton. I guess he was getting set to retire in 2003. What was your tryout like?
It's a story I tell at the presentation, and it's fairly lengthy. So if you can come out to the presentation next Monday, the 15th, I will tell the entire story in detail. Long story short, my wife called some people there, wangled me an audition. I went and auditioned and got it.
Okay.
That's the long story short.
Okay. Well, we'll check it out on Monday night then. Baseball fans, Ed, always looking for five-tool players. What are some of the songs you always bring to the game at Yankee Stadium?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I said, baseball fans always looking for five-tool players. What are some of the songs you bring to Yankee Stadium on a recurrent basis?
I never play the same songs.
Okay.
2 games in a row. As far as the songs I play before the game,
Okay.
That's always different. During the game, there's stuff people expect to hear.
Sure.
The standard stuff that stadium organists play, and I do some of that. I also play a lot of rock songs as pump-up music and a lot of hip-hop and rap.
Okay.
So I try to mix it up.
What's in terms of, again, given that collection there, what are some of your favorites that people react to at the ballpark in terms of maybe some rock and roll or hip hop?
I don't know what people react to because I'm not out in the
Okay.
game. I'm indoors watching a
Okay.
TV, so I don't see what crowd reaction is. In addition to the normal pump up stuff, I play that everybody expects to hear, which is the Charge thing, Adam's Family, Green
Right.
Acres, and all these things, and I demonstrate them at the presentation.
Okay.
Other than that, I had to add some rock and roll licks to fill it out. So the main licks from Inagata Davida and Smoke on the Water and Centerfold and things like that. And then the rap songs, a lot of people think hip hop songs don't have melody. They have very strong instrumental hooks sometimes. So you go back and get some old stuff from Dr. Dre and 50 Cent and Biggie and classics.
Okay. This is, I think,
And I'm always looking for new things.
okay. This is your 21st season at Yankee Stadium, a tenure that's included a World Series championship in 2009. Many say that's way too long ago. But anyway, Ed, can you share a couple of your top memories? Some of your favorite players, you've been playing music for and with along the way.
Well, they've been in the playoffs every year since I got there until 2008, and then last year.
Right.
And it was a couple of years in the 2010s that they didn't get them. But they've been competitive
Yeah, no
every
doubt.
year. I mean, it's never been outright bad.
We're all spoiled.
So the
though.
team's always been fairly good. Players, I mean, my most memorable moments are probably Alex Rodriguez's 500th home run. I was there for his 600th home run as well. I was there for the Jeter game where he got his 3,000th hit and went 5 for 5.
Right, okay.
I did one World Series game that year. That was a thrill. Lots of playoff games, lots of crazy moments. I've been very fortunate because this was a childhood dream and it actually happened, and I'm very grateful to be there.
This year, the Yanks they got off to a really fast start. Been a bit of a rough patch over the past 20 games or so. Your sense for how things are going to play out this season?
We'll all have to see. We don't know that. There's plenty of time left. So, if they're going to have a swoon, I'd rather they have it now than in September. So let's see if they can get the ship righted.
Okay. Well,
usually they make some moves when they need to and bring somebody in that is helpful.
All right. Well, let's see if that's the case, and hopefully that will result in Ed getting to play the organ at the stadium during the postseason. But October's a long way off, and for those who like good music and some good stories about baseball, please join Ed Alstrom at the Mamaroneck Library on Monday, July 15th. Then you can go home and watch Home Run Derby on ESPN. Can you remind us, Ed, what time's first pitch at the library?
Okay, we're going to be next Monday, July 15th, at Mamaroneck Library. 6 p.m. is the start. And I will be playing a keyboard live. I'll be telling lots and lots of stories. A lot of them are about Eddie Layton and Bob Shepard and some of those early days. And all kinds of interesting stuff. If you're a Yankee fan or a baseball fan, I think you'll enjoy it. It's free of charge, of course. So that's Monday, July 15th, 6 p.m., Mamaroneck Library. If you want to see what it's about, or I think you probably have to, they want you to make a reservation online, even though there's no charge. And you would go to mamaronecklibrary.org/events.
Okay.
To find out more.
All right. Please take yourself out to see and hear Yankee baseball from the organ bench in the community room at Mamaroneck Library on Monday night. I just want to thank our guest, Ed Alstrom, for taking some time to talk music, baseball, and the Yankees. We do appreciate it, Ed.
My pleasure, Mike. I'll see you Monday.
Okay. That concludes this episode. LMC Media is a nonprofit media center located in Mamaroneck. As noted, MLC Media's The Studio on the Avenue, where this podcast was recorded, is located in the heart of Mamaroneck at Mamaroneck Cinemas. Please visit lmcmedia.org/services/podcast to book your time in this state-of-the-art convenient location, which is walkable from the Metro North train station on Mamaroneck Avenue. You can also support this nonprofit media center at lmcmedia.org/donate/. Hope to see you at the Mamaroneck Library on July 15th, or till next time. This is Mike Reynolds for LMC Cast Community Profile.
Thank you for listening to the LMC Cast Community Profiles, produced at LMC Media's studio on the Avenue. Visit lmcmedia.org to book your time in this state-of-the-art convenient location, walkable from the Metro North train station on Mamaroneck Avenue. You can also support this nonprofit media center at lmcmedia.org/donate.